I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, went to public school all the way through, was inspired to become a public school teacher, went to Brown University for teacher training, having gone to Amherst College first, which is partly why I ended up in this area. I was good at school. I liked school. I was going to become a teacher to make school better for everybody. I worked for 3 years in Prince George's County, Maryland, basically one neighborhood outside of the district, and basically all African-American community, Suitland, Maryland. Took a year off with my wife in South America doing a program called World Teach. Moved up here, got a job in the Amherst Public Schools, taught for 2 more years, was enrolled in a doctorate program at UMass so I could become a principal, superintendent, and secretary of education and your general progressive education reformer. But then I hit the wall and couldn't do it. And at 30 years old, I resigned my job and started North Star, Self-Directed Learning for Teens, which was then called Pathfinder. I was on my way to becoming the professional progressive reformer that I thought I was going to be. But then I decided that the real problem in teaching wasn't class size, it wasn't money, it wasn't resources, it wasn't even the freedom to teach US history the way that I chose to in my classroom, which I largely could do. It was none of those things. I decided the problem was I was teaching kids who didn't want to be there. I was trying to make kids care about things they honestly didn't care about. And then I was scolding them for not caring about it and telling them they were dreadful human beings who were going to be doomed for life if they didn't do well in 8th grade US history. And that was kind of absurd, especially when I was teaching them about strikes, resistance, challenging the system, heroes of US history who resisted or didn't accept the way the status quo was. These are the heroes. And then I'm telling them to sit down and shut up and no, you can't go to the bathroom right now. And if you want an A, you better do what I say, right? Like, it's crazy. I listened to myself and said, this is not okay. I don't want to be this human being. And a number of the kids who weren't doing well in my classroom were doing just fine outside of school. They were nitwits in my room trying to distract and mess things up. But outside, they were doing their sports, their music, their art, they had jobs. They're perfectly fine, intelligent human beings who loved life. They didn't like school. And they would come to mess up my class for their own amusement as best they could, right? And I decided that I wanted to be the guy they wanted to see, not the guy they wanted to mess up. How do you get to be, on schooling terms, the person that they're really sad it's a snow day? They don't get to go to their class. They don't get to have that interaction. I want to be that person, right? And well, I couldn't see it happening in school. I mean, I know there's electives and every teacher, every school, there's some teachers who carve out their niche and it works out. I know there are those people, but teaching 8th grade US history, standard requirement courses to people, it wasn't going to happen. And then, well, I'm struggling with, so I don't really want to go to private school and do the same thing for bigger stakes, money-wise and prestige and grades. And it's the same thing of getting the best grade to go to college anyway. And I wasn't really interested in younger kids in progressive alternative schools in K through 6. And so I didn't really know what to do. And I was, maybe I should go start a summer camp, play with kids outdoors after school. I don't know what I'm going to do, right? But I didn't really want to give up my academic history stuff and my teaching stuff. And plus, these kids need something different. These kids would come to me. One of the, some of the best focused kids in school would just be coming up to me in the afternoon to my class and just being like, "Get me out of here. You don't even know what a waste of a day this has been, Mr. Danford," they would say back then. It was hilarious. I mean, it was sad. And so I wasn't really ready to give up, but I didn't know what to do. And my friend, co-teacher Joshua Hornick, gave me a copy of Grace Llewellyn's book, The Teenage Liberation Handbook, How to Quit School and Get a Real Life in Education. I didn't know beans about homeschooling or unschooling. Didn't even know unschooling was a word. Never heard of, homeschooling. I thought was just some elitist, obnoxious, stupid movement that I didn't need to know about because I'm a public school reformer. And I was flabbergasted that, oh my God, these kids don't go to school and they're awesome. What? You can just not go to school and then they win the science. And then I was like, first, like, well, they're cheating. Of course they win the science awards. I mean, the debate thing, because they don't go to school all day. Of course they have extra time to win all those projects or whatever they do, right? But, I got over that pretty quickly and started really exploring and reading and doing a whole year's worth of figuring this out and realizing that homeschooling, unschooling was just a movement I didn't know anything about. There's lots of things I don't know about. People are vegans and people do home birth and people do all kinds of alternative cultural things that I don't know about that are perfectly, improvements over standard American culture. Okay. So homeschooling's that. Homeschooling's that improvement, that alternative thing that's better than the normal culture that none of us know about, and we all think is something it's not.